Gemstone mining is broken. And you know that, that's why you're here. So in today's video, I will be covering absolutely everything you need to know about how to gemstone mine. If you're new to it, this guide will teach you everything you need to know. Or if you're already an experienced gemstone miner, I promise there will be something useful in this guide for you. Just make sure to watch till the very end. Here's a quick overview of what's going to be covered today. Grinding harder than mountain XP efficiently, grinding powder fast, budget-friendly mining setups, a recommended mining setup to start with, the endgame sweaty mining setups, followed by the three main mining methods of Jade Mining, Ruby Mining, and Armadillo Mining. But before we get started, I'll be giving away 10 million coins on my Discord if we can hit 100 likes on this video, so join up in the link down below. And while down there, make sure to like and subscribe to this video. I put a ton of time into these projects to make them informative and, most importantly, entertaining to watch. Before you even start to think about gemstone mining, one thing that you have to max out is your heart of the mountain level, and there is plenty of easy ways to optimize this grind. First is leveling with other players. This is good because you can all share the coordinates for important places or structures in the lobby. If you can't find anyone else that's grinding heart of the mountain XP, then you can just try asking public chat for coordinates. There's a good chance that you'll get them. Next is crystal nucleus runs. These are when you get the 5 big crystals of each type and place them around the crystal nucleus. Don't do these. Crystal nucleus runs are not worth the amount of time it takes to get the heart of the mountain XP. You really should only be doing them if you're an Iron Man player or if you already know where all the coordinates to the structures are. Otherwise, you're better off just doing the standard commissions in the crystal hollows. Next, make sure you max out your peak of the mountain perk. Future me just jumping in real quick. Midway through editing this video, Hypixel added the levels 6 and 7 to the peak of the mountain perk. You don't need to get these levels. It costs about 1.2 million gemstone powder, and the buffs aren't really worth it. The extra token that you can invest in a new perk doesn't really buy you anything useful, as you'll see pretty soon. Plus, it also saves you about 10 hours of powder grinding. This is important because the peak of the mountain, apart from all the other incredible buffs that it gives you more commission slots, which makes grinding commissions way easier. Also, for the first 4 commissions of each day, you'll get a bonus 900 Heart of the Mountain experience. So in the event where you can't play for a while or can't play consistently, logging in each day just to do your 4 commissions is very efficient for your time when grinding Heart of the Mountain XP. However, all the tips I just shared are general tips that can be applied to pretty much any commission. There is a few more specific tips that I have for specific types of commissions, such as find the jungle temple to kill sludges, find the Khazor Dome to kill bowels. Pretty much any structure in the precursor ruins has plenty of automatons, and this structure is the most efficient structure for killing goblins. Just try to grind out as many Heart of the Mountain commissions as you can in a row. It's a pretty long and tedious grind, but there is so many good perks locked behind the high tiers of the Heart of the Mountain tree. But these high tier perks mean absolutely nothing if you don't have a lot of gemstone and mithril powder to spend on them. Higher tier perks mean more mining speed and mining fortune, therefore the higher tier your perks are, the more money that you'll be earning from gemstone mining. And the most efficient way to grind both gemstone and mithril powder is treasure chests. They have a chance to spawn when mining hardstone pretty much anywhere in the crystal hollows. If you're going for nothing but gemstone and mithril powder, the perks that matter are Mole, Powder Buff, Great Explorer, and the Picomulus ability. These make spawning treasure chests easier, meaning that you'll get more powder overall. It's also a common myth that the Mole perk is bugged past 51, but it does work at higher levels, as shown here. You should also be trying to level this perk up in increments of 20, since that means that you'll always have a 100% chance of breaking an extra block. Also, try to get as many 2x powder lobbies as you can. This just makes the grind so much more bearable. And make sure that you get as close to 4 million gemstone and 4 million mithril powder as you can, if not more. When you start to gemstone mine, you want your Heart of the Mountain tree to be in either a U or F pattern, as shown on screen. Jumping in yet again, because of the peak of the mountain level changes, you can just use the tree with red on it. The extra token doesn't really buy you anything useful unless you want more powder or mining XP. Yet again, just don't bother with the final 2 levels of peak of the mountain unless you're willing to powder grind for a while longer. But powder grinding has a secondary use to it. It can pay for your mining setup. I've already talked about 2 ways to make money from powder grinding in previous videos. But let me quickly summarize this. You can either use a jungle pickaxe in the jungle to get sludge and then sell it to the bazaar, or if you're feeling lucky, mine in the precursor remnants and get robot parts and sell them on the auction house. Plus, if you want to get more enchanted hardstone while mining, the compact enchant and the refined reforge on your mining tool increase the chances of you dropping enchanted hardstone, meaning that you can get more money once you sell it to the bazaar. Plus, you can also level perks that give mining fortune. As for the pet, you'd want to use a snail pet to give you more mining fortune at the cost of your speed if you want to get more money. Alternatively, you can use a silverfish pet, as this will give you more mining XP, which is useful if you still need to level up your mining level. You should be making about 4 to 6 million coins per hour powder grinding, and assuming that it takes you 35 hours to get 4 million powder, this is at a rate of about 70 to 100,000 of each powder per hour. You're looking at earning 140 to 210 million coins just from powder grinding, and you want to spend all of this on your mining setup. But speaking of mining setups, let's get onto those. There are a few items that are universally good across all mining setups. One of these items is an aspect of the void with the Ether Warp ability. While when crafting it, it says that you need Enderman Slayer 6, this is bugged when applied to the aspect of the void. So if you ask a friend with the level requirements to apply it, then you have one of the most useful mining items in the game that only requires mana and soul floater, which means it's basically free. Also, grinding your mining level up can give you some additional fortune. It's nothing crazy, but extra fortune still helps. If you want to level the skill fast, you can use a strat called Crystal Hollow's Mithril Mining. This strat is where you cycle between these coordinates, and you should be getting really good XP rates. And since mithril blocks are actually bugged in the Crystal Hollows, you're actually getting 2 times the XP you ordinarily should. This method also doubles as a way to level pets if you can't afford to buy high level bowls, scathers, or armadillos. Don't forget to equip a Vanished Glowstone Gauntlet and an Ancient Cloak. Both of these are really cheap options to get some extra mining fortune. Make sure to put the Glistening Reforge on these pieces of equipment to get even more mining stats. There is also the Sentry Cake that gives you a little bit of extra mining fortune. There's also the Jungle Amulet. This gives you 10 extra mining fortune and is an uncommon accessory. Finally, you want an Artifact of Power. It gives you half of the power of whatever perfect gemstones you put in it. It's a bit pricey, so if you can't afford it, a Ring of Power is still an option. But the perfect gemstones still give you a nice buff. But now that we've established the universally good items, let's get on to the specific mining setups you could be running. What's good about the budget setup option is that most, if not all of the setup is paid for from the powder grinding you do. Buy full Sora armor, then put a perfect Amber and Jade gemstone on the gemstone slots. As for the universal gemstone slot, you're going to want to put a perfect topaz. This is because you get extra pristine. This stat is very important for mining because it drops you higher tier gemstones every time you mine a gemstone block. Also, chuck the Jaded Reforge on the armor for some nice bonus of mining speed and fortune. Also, for the mining tool, you're going to want to be using a Gemstone Gauntlet. It's by far the best mining tool in the game for its price, but perfect Topaz, Amber, and Jade gemstones also need to be applied to this, as well as the Auspicious Reforge. For the enchants, just use the standard Efficiency 5, Compact, Fortune 4, and Pristine 5. Pristine is a bit pricey, but it is the most useful enchant for mining, and it's hard to profit without it. Also for the pet, it's dependent on what mining method that you'll be using. You want a bell for ruby mining, and an armadillo for any other type of mining. Wait until the mining methods section of this video to decide what pet you're going to buy. A few optional improvements that can be made to your setup if you have the money in no particular order are putting silexes on your gemstone gauntlet or recombobulating your equipment, armor, or mining tool. These can be paid for pretty quickly, seeing as I'm making 8 million per hour Jade mining and 9 million per hour Ruby mining with this budget setup. Although instead of improving this setup, you can use the money earned to invest in the next tier of mining setup. These are all the items that I recommend for gemstone mining if you are willing to grind out more money or already have a lot of money. Full Divine's Armor starts us off. To pay for all the gemstone slots and all the perfect gems, you are looking at 400 million coins. Add on the Jaded Reforge and some Recomobulators, and that's a lot of money. Everything else is pretty much the same as the budget setup. An Auspicious Divine's Gauntlet with perfect gemstones, Fortune 4, Compact, Pristine 5, and a decently high efficiency level with Silexes. This is the gear I have, and personally I Ruby mine with it, because the Bell's ability gives a significant buff over Jade. Although, again, we will discuss that in much more detail in the mining methods section coming up soon. A few improvements I plan to make to this setup include getting Quick Claw and potentially starting to level pets via XP share, since it's slightly more money per hour. Even though this setup seems expensive, you can reuse the pet and mining tool from the budget tier. Plus, the next tier of mining is where the cost starts to get insane. Hypermaxing is when you essentially achieve the best mining setup possible. You'll still be using the exact same Max Divine's armor, and at this tier, you'll be using either a Bell pet for Ruby mining, an Armadillo pet for Armadillo mining, or a Scather for Jade mining. You'll also want to have the Quick Claw pet item on whatever pet you're using. But what you'll end up spending most of your money on is the mining tool. The two best mining tools in the game are the Titanium Drill DRX55 and the Divine's Drill. The former setting you back 235 million coins at base, and the latter setting you back over 1 billion coins at base. Because to max this out, you'll need a perfectly cut fuel tank, amber drill engine, and a blue cheese goblet omelet. These will cost you a little under 300 million coins for all of them. At this stage of the game, you may either have a max Hotm Mountain tree already, if not, you might want to go max it somewhere if you don't mind grinding an extra 20-ish hours of powder. At this point of mining, you can expect to be making 30 million to 50 million coins per hour outside of coal, depending on what mining method that you choose. Which segues us perfectly into talking about the different methods of gemstone mining. Here's a few things that apply to all types of mining methods. You can save on a lot of mining speed because you only need so much. Here are a few charts on screen. These show the required amounts of mining speed to break blocks in a certain amount of ticks, which is essentially what Minecraft runs on. You want to try to get as close to or slightly over these values as you can, otherwise you'll just be wasting gemstone powder on mining speed. Also, ruby shards are the glass panes, by the way. But the first mining method that we'll be covering is arguably the most well-known gemstone mining method, Jade Mining. Let's start by going through a step-by-step process on how you need to go about mining jade. First, search around the mithril deposits for a Mines of Divan. It's not guaranteed in every lobby, so if you can't find one in 5 minutes or so, just change lobbies. What's difficult about this is finding a Mines of Divan without people in it already. If someone is already in there, leave or see if you can both share the lobby without getting in each other's way. Don't be that guy who griefs others. No one wins in that scenario. Place platforms of hardstone or cobblestone around the big crystals on the ceiling. You'll want anywhere from 2 to 4 jade crystals depending on the size of the crystals and your mining speed. Make sure that you're using a Scather pet unless you're on a budget setup, in which case you can use an Armadillo pet, and try to mine the full gemstone blocks since they will give you more crystals. Once you've done all of this, you can just grind. You will need to worry about griefers since the structure is very easy to find. I consider this method to be more beginner friendly since it requires less skill and is more convenient to do. Ruby mining and Armadillo mining make more but require significantly more work to set up. However, with Jade mining and my setup, which falls in the recommended category, I am making 16 million coins per hour. With a maxed out setup like your local Sadman, you can be making 33 million per hour off jade mining, which is pretty insane. Ruby mining is my personal favorite method of mining, mainly because of ruby roots. I'll discuss them a little later in the section. But to start us off, you have to use the bell pet for this method. You'll die in the magma fields if you don't use it. But the bell's Made of Lava perk is what makes ruby mining so good, because it's not a boost to most of your stats. it's a 15% boost to all of your stats. So ruby mining gives you 15% more mining speed, 15% more mining fortune, and most importantly, 15% more pristine. Next, make sure you're mining any topaz on a mining speed boost and selling it to the bazaar for an extra couple million per hour. The two hard parts of ruby mining are getting the coordinates for a ruby root and digging it out. Quickly going over how you should dig out roots, but bombing the root makes the space a lot more open. Make sure you're mining the nearby ruby first so it doesn't get permanently destroyed by the explosion. Once the space is open, you can place platforms so you can just TP around the place. But now let's get on to a question that I'm sure you all have. Where are good ruby roots? In the description, there is a pastebin link where if you have SkyTills, you can copy this extremely long line of characters and import all the coordinates pretty easily. But if you don't, here are all the lists of coordinates on screen for two different ruby roots. Also, a lot of mining sweats will use private coordinates, often paid tens of millions of coins for, but you don't necessarily need to pay Skyblock coins to find new ruby roots. Yet again, down below, I have linked to Schematica files. If you go on a single player world with worldedit and TP to 570-500, then paste a schematic, you can see all the ruby and topaz veins in the crystal hollows with no hardstone. This is perfectly allowed and is in fact how many gemstone roots are found. Just fly around and try to find any clumps of rubies and there you go, you've just made new ruby roots. Whatever route you choose to make, something that is important is that once you complete a cycle, if there is multiple veins of crystals fully respawned, try cutting the smaller ones out, therefore making the route smaller and easier to set up. With my setup, I am making 18 to 19 million per hour from rubies, but mining sweats like Vexos are making up to 38 million per hour. Armadillo Mining is the big boy, try-harding, 50 million per hour, super sweaty mining method. Yeah, as you can probably already guess, this mining method is the most profitable in the game. But it still does have some downsides. Mainly that it's really hard to find the structures that you need for this method. The only two structures that work are Spiral and Throne, and these can take either 5 minutes to 60 minutes to find, depending on your RNG. To start, make sure that you set up auto pet rules. The first pet rule has to be when you cast a fishing rod. It doesn't matter what pet you summon, the important part is that you add an exception to it only being active in the crystal hollows. This is important, otherwise the second rule won't work. The second rule is also when you cast a fishing rod, and this will summon out your armadillo. You don't need to add an exception to this rule. These auto pet rules mean when you cast a rod, a random pet is summoned, quickly followed by the armadillo being summoned. This means you can essentially teleport it to your location whenever you cast a fishing rod. You can also change your Heart of the Mountain tree to only focus mining fortune, since the armadillo instantly breaks gemstones. A few notes for this is that you do not want to use the WASD key while riding the armadillo pet, because this will drain its energy, and this is something that you do not want. If you instead spawn it in and move your camera around, the armadillo pet will not lose energy and will still be able to mine gemstones instantly. Your platforms around the sapphire gemstones have to be made out of cobblestone. This is because the armadillo cannot instantly break cobblestone. This mining method will absolutely kill your hand. It is not easy to do and is quite high effort. However, you can pretty easily make 1.5 times the amount of money per hour that Jade Mining and Ruby Mining make. So if you're a really sweaty endgame player, or just are willing to go the extra mile to earn absolutely insane profits, Armadillo Mining is the mining method for you. So whether you're a mid-game player looking to get into gemstones, or a late-game sweat making tens of millions of coins, gemstone mining, in my opinion, is the best money-making method in the game. Huge thank you to Implodent and your local Sadman for providing the information and checking over the script for this video. They are awesome mining sweats, so go have a look at their channels for some cool mining content. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments, and while you're down there, I want to know, how much are you guys making gemstone mining? Make sure to like the video, and join the Discord for the giveaway. Anyways, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.